There have been so many great actors in minor roles, and some who have had their parts cut entirely. Let's shake things up and see how the MCU could have looked with a few more creative casting choices. Hype was at an all-time high during the lead-up to Avengers Endgame, and many fans couldn't help but wonder who 13 Reasons Why star Katherine Langford would be playing. Some thought that she might be cast as a post-blip aged-up Cassie Lang, but by the time the credits started rolling, many fans were left wondering if they had missed something. If you wondered which scene Langford was in, the answer is none. Or at least none that made it into the theatrical release. She was going to play an older version of Morgan Stark who would meet Tony in a sort of between the worlds way station after his defeat of Thanos. She said, so when Marvel reached out to me to play Iron Man's daughter, that was such an honor. According to the Russo brothers, their father-daughter moment just didn't fit in with the flow of the film, so it ended up being cut, and Langford didn't get the chance to make her Marvel movie debut. Not only is she a great actor, but she's also a huge Marvel fan, and spent a ton of time worrying about spoiling Endgame for nothing. There are so many great young heroes, it wouldn't be hard to find a place for her. There's Kate Bishop, the next Hawkeye, who will be appearing alongside Clint Barton on Disney+, and there's also tons of great mutant options. What about Katherine Langford as Kitty Pryde, huh? After all, she haunted Clay Jensen through a few seasons of 13 Reasons Why, so maybe that would help her portray Kitty's particular superpower. There are some Marvel movie villains who are better than others, and out of the entire Doctor Strange rogue gallery, Mikkelsen ended up playing Kaecilius, who was just really an assistant to the big baddie Dormammu. Unlike Christopher Eccleston's infamous time as Malekith in Thor: The Dark World, Mikkelsen didn't mind spending hours in the makeup department because he loved the final effects so much. Apparently he's all too happy to play the villain, especially when he gets to deliver a rousing monologue, right before being defeated, of course.
Isn't it beautiful?
But while Mikkelsen has good things to say about his time in the MCU, many fans feel he should have been featured in a much bigger role. In fact, there was a time when he auditioned for a Fantastic Four movie, but ended up walking out before it was over. Walking out of auditions is generally not the best career move, but considering the quality of those films overall, it might not have been the worst decision in this case. It would have been awesome if he'd held out for Marvel's first family to be introduced into the MCU, and since he likes playing the villain, I can definitely see him taking on the role of their enemy, the infamous Doctor Doom. I could go on and on about how great Thor Ragnarok is.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they didn't stop to think if they should.
But for now, let's just talk about the infamous play scene involving stars Luke Hemsworth, Matt Damon, and Jurassic Park actor Sam Neill. And so, Loki died of his wounds, giving his life for ours. Even though he was only in the movie for a brief scene, he still took security more seriously than veteran MCU actor Mark Ruffalo, who streamed the first few minutes of Ragnarok after forgetting to turn his phone off at the premiere. He said, "Marvel's secret agents, and they are lethal. They'll come and get me, and probably my children as well." Since Neill was dressed as Odin, a lot of fans didn't even have the chance to fully appreciate the fact that he was involved at all. It was kind of a letdown for those of us who heard a rumor about which comic book character he was going to be portraying. Of course, I know better than to get emotionally invested in leaks from 4chan, but you can't blame me for hoping Sam Neill would really be portraying a character known as the Traitor. Okay, so he'd be a bit of an aesthetic deviation, but hey, the Grand Master is blue, and decidedly not Jeff Goldblum in the comics.
Wow, I didn't hear any thunder, but out of your fingers, was that like sparkles?
The Traitor is one of the elders of the universe like the Collector and the Grand Master, and you can probably guess his big thing is wheeling and dealing. In any case, it would have been nice to see Sam Neill in more than just a single scene. Academy Award-winning actor Sir Ben Kingsley has been in films like Schindler's List and Gandhi, and in Iron Man 3, he played a washed-up actor pretending to be the legendary Mandarin. Trevor Slattery posing as the Mandarin is one of the most controversial MCU moments of all time, and many fans focus on what a letdown it was to not have the actual comic book character included in the movie. But now let's take a moment to appreciate the fact that Marvel used Ben Kingsley in this role. Clearly, he's someone who knows the importance of giving depth to a character. That unshakable faith in his own version of the truth. Not that he really had the chance to show off his skill here. If he couldn't be the real Mandarin, why not cast him as a morally complex character like Professor X? Yeah, he's a hero who founded the X-Men, but he's made some dubious calls over the years when it comes to using his powers. It would be a role more suitable for Kingsley's talent than having a legendary actor play a washed-up one. There's no question that Rachel McAdams knows how to sell a romantic storyline, even when it involves a frequently fighting couple like Allie and Noah in The Notebook. Seriously, who decided that kissing in the rain was romantic, and how can they be stopped?
I should go.
Anyway, McAdams portrayed Christine Palmer in Doctor Strange, and despite being a medical professional, she didn't really rise above the role of generic romantic interests. Jessica Chastain was offered the part first and turned it down, saying she'd rather be a superhero than just the girlfriend of one, which was a fair critique of the role. Doctor Strange director Scott Derrickson said that he fought to get McAdams for the role, but there was only so much the talented actress could do in this limited part. Maybe Christine could end up working as a night nurse like she does in the comics, helping heal other heroes instead of just waiting on call for her ex to show up. Not only is Donald Glover insanely talented, but he's also a huge Spider-Man fan. There was a petition to get him to play Spider-Man, but instead he settled for the part of Aaron Davis in Spider-Man Homecoming. Although he was the uncle of Spider-Man Miles Morales, we didn't really see much of him in the movie. We learned that he's concerned about neighborhood safety and that he's close with his nephew, but in the comic books, Aaron Davis is a villain known as the Prowler that I would have loved to have seen more of in the MCU. Marvel even scrapped plans to have him appear in Spider-Man Far From Home because the writers simply couldn't fit him into the script.
You still on that? I told you, no. The answer is no. Forget it.
Which does make sense considering Peter Parker spent most of the film, well, far from home, but it's no less disappointing. I'd love to see Glover in action as a Spider-Man character, like a fully fledged Prowler, or an even more insidious enemy, like Norm Osborn, Benicio del Toro had the opportunity to play one of the Elders of the Universe, but all things considered, the Collector is a pretty small role for such a huge talent. We know he goes above and beyond for his roles, even learning sign language to take part in Sicario: Day of the Soldado. Plus, thanks to that film, he also has experience working with Thanos actor Josh Brolin, which could have only helped him in the MCU. Since he picked up sign language so quickly, we couldn't help but wonder what he would have been like as Clint Barton. In the comics, Clint lost his hearing and picked up skills like sign language and lip reading. This is a character arc many fans would love to see incorporated into the MCU, and Del Toro would definitely have the skills to pull it off. Not only have we seen Djimon Hounsou as Korath the Pursuer in Guardians of the Galaxy and Captain Marvel, but he's been in DC films like Aquaman and Shazam too, and yet he's always in a part that's too small. Not only is Hounsou a talented actor, but he also has a keen understanding of why we love comic book movies so much. He pointed out that fans fantasize about being the best, and these films allow us to see characters doing just that. I would have liked to see Hounsou playing a more earthbound character like Gentle. He's a mutant who grew up in Wakanda and didn't have the easiest upbringing, to put it mildly. As the MCU incorporates more comic book characters, maybe there's a chance we'll see Djimon Hounsou as Gentle or another mutant at some point in the future.
Yes!
Bokeem Woodbine may not have as many accolades as some other stars on this list, but if you've seen his work on Fargo, then you know he isn't short on talent. Marvel fans may recognize him as Herman Schultz from Spider-Man Homecoming, where he was given a gauntlet from Adrian Toomes and became the new Shocker. We didn't get to see a ton of him in the movie, which is a shame considering Woodbine's skills, but if we finally get to see the Sinister Six in action at some point, he'd make a solid starting member. Sure, he wasn't a member of the original lineup in the comics, but there are some deviations that will have to be made to get these guys on the big screen. Marvel could easily omit Electro and swap in Woodbine's Shocker instead. Besides, I'm guessing they're gonna have to take a pass on including Mysterio, considering how Far From Home ended. When Rebecca Hall signed on to appear in Iron Man 3, she was excited to play the first big female villain in the MCU, which is why it's so disappointing that Maya Hansen was a minor character at best. According to Hall, they cut down her part because they were worried an action figure of a female villain simply wouldn't sell. Hall said that the Maya she ended up playing was nowhere near as substantial as she was promised, which was confirmed by Iron Man 3 director Shane Black. Since she wanted to play a female villain, she could have at least been asked to play the indefinitely more powerful Hela, or someone like Emma Frost. You know, when the X-Men are eventually introduced into the MCU. Not that I'm counting the days or anything. So, what do you think about the MCU supporting cast? Are there any other actors that you think should have been given bigger roles? Make sure to share your fantasy MCU team with us and your fellow fans in the comments section below, and stay connected with us here at Screen Rant by clicking on the subscribe button and turning on your notifications. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.